Hello and welcome back to Shit We've Read, a sci-fi and fantasy book podcast hosted by geeky friends. I am your host, Laura Benson, and I'm excited to share that this is our season 5 premiere, and we are going to be discussing All Systems Red by Martha Wells. Just a really quick thank you to all of our listeners for hanging out with us. We're excited to be growing a little bit more, so if anybody is up for rating and reviewing us on whatever podcast app you use, that would be amazing. If anybody would like to help support us a little bit more, we've also got a Venmo and a PayPal set up. You can find links in the show notes. But we're excited to be back to discuss this book. Returning with me is my co-host, Jason Rico. Hello.
Hey, Laura, how's it going?
Pretty good. I'm excited. You have finally read this Murderbot book.
I finally have read it. I had to for the show. It's been a long time coming. As anybody who's listened to the show, I'm sure knows, I have a very long TBR that's like booked out a year in advance. This book has been on there multiple times, moved around, rescheduled for various reasons, but we're finally making it happen. I'm late to the party, but I'm here.
I'm glad that you're here for this, and you've prioritized it.
Yeah.
And I'm excited to also share that we have 2 guest hosts with us today. Returning guest Emma Skies. We do see you pretty regularly.
It was so weird to hear you introduce the show as Shit We've Read. I was about to be like, you forgot the After Dark part. This is a non-After Dark episode.
No.
Recipe. Not that spicy.
And then along with Emma Skies, we have Sir Aaron Carter. Hello.
Hi. Hey. Hi. How's everybody doing?
That was enthusiastic.
You seem excited, yeah.
Well, you kind of caught me in the middle of looking for some old notes on the book, so that's. I thought you were going to kind of stretch out the other intros for everybody.
You were literally the last introduction. It could not have been more stretched out to get to you.
I mean, you guys have so much about you that I thought it was going to go another 10 minutes. Oh. But hey, I'm glad to be here. Happy to be here on the first episode, the season premiere. Love it.
Yeah, we're excited to have you both on, and we're discussing this book because they adapted it to a TV show called Murderbot, which premieres on Apple TV on May 16th. So we figured now would be a great time to talk about this book. And also, I believe you two are doing your own podcast on the show as well.
Yeah, we typically do these watch podcasts for books adapted into TV shows or books adapted into movies. And this one's going to work a little bit differently for us. Typically what we do is that one of us has read the book and one of us has not. And then we kind of break down each episode in that format. In this scenario, we both read it. And we just both want to talk about it. So we're like, fuck it, we'll do it anyway.
Nice.
Yeah. The trailer looks very good. Like,
yes.
It does.
We've watched some bad book shows before. I'm not going to name any names or any vampires, but this, and it's Apple TV, right? Yeah, it's Apple TV. Yeah. And they do high quality stuff. So my expectations are very high on this one.
Apple TV in particular does really great sci-fi stuff. They are like eating up the sci-fi television. Yeah. Like they have the market cornered on that and they do it really well and they don't tell anybody about it. So by the time you find out their shows exist, you're like, what do you mean this is 4 seasons in? I've never seen this in my life. And it's got like the biggest budget you've ever seen on TV.
Yeah.
So
I agree.
Whatever they're doing though, it's working.
It definitely is working. I finally broke down and got an account this last year and started watching some shows, and it's totally worth it.
I'm going to be borrowing your account then to watch this.
Okay, yeah. You can let me know when you need to log in.
Thank you.
Before we jump into our actual book discussion, we always discuss what the other shit is that we're reading right now. So I would love to open the floor to, let's say, Aaron, since we haven't had Aaron on for a bit.
I am reading currently. So my second niece, she reads books, and I'll try to recommend her books from time to time, but I kind of found her lane, and she recommended a book for me this time. So I'm reading a book kind of from her library that she just absolutely loves. It's called 5 Survive by Holly Jackson. And the tagline It says 8 hours, 6 friends, 1 sniper.
Ooh.
Okay.
The basic premise is some spring break college kids, like college high school, senior college high school. They're going on a spring break trip in an RV, 4 flats, stranded in the middle of nowhere. Then they find out that the tires were shot out, their gas tank was shot out, and there's a sniper out there that says, hey, one of you's got a secret, and I need you to reveal it, or I'm going to kill you.
Ooh.
So I'm halfway through that right now. It's getting intense. There's a couple of plot twists. There's actually one that I just read today that's pretty good. But also it's a young adult fiction. So cuz my niece, she's 13. So, take that with a grain of young adult, because don't expect like, oh, there's a bunch of, blood and gore in it, or it's very young adult feeling.
Yeah.
And I'm only reading it because I ragged on the other book that we read together. Well, not together, that she read and I read. And I said it was terrible. And she said, you got to give this other one a try. So I'm like, all right. But 3 strikes and she's out. And she'll never recommend anything to me again. That's how it'll work. So yeah, that's what I'm
Harsh
reading.
but fair.
Okay. It sounds interesting, though.
Yeah, it is so far.
Sorry, can you remember me what it's called?
5 Survive by Holly Jackson.
There it is. Thank you.
All right,
The name you might recognize from the Good Girl's Guide to Murder series.
Yeah,
believe
which
it's
she
also the
loves
same.
that.
Yeah.
She's like, oh, I'm on book 30 on the Good Girl's Guide to Murder. And I'm like, okay, cool.
There's like 4 books, Aaron. What do you mean?
It's a bunch of books. I don't know. And I might actually probably get guilt tripped by her into reading that series later if this one stands on business and stays good like it has been so far. So we'll see.
Okay. What about you, Emma?
I'm in the biggest reading slump ever. It's real bad out here. I can't focus on anything. I can't remember the last fiction book that I read was Sunrise on the Reaping. That was in March. That was like mid-March. But I know my next book. Oh, yes. And I will never forget it. I am still traumatized. Maybe that's why I haven't read anything. I'm just traumatized from Sunrise on the Reaping. But I'm fairly certain I know my next book that I'm going to start any day now, which is Angie Kills a King by Evan Lakeham. Because that comes out next month. So very, very excited for that one. If we're given synopses, I guess that I'm going to butcher this. Evan, if you ever hear this, I'm so sorry. So Angie is a servant in the palace, and the book starts off and she slits the king's throat. She kills him. And I don't think you really know why. She kills him and she runs. And so there's this sort of legendary band of mercenaries that are hunting her for a bounty. One of them finds her. Obviously the mercenary that finds her wants to get her where they need to go. She does not want to go. They're butting heads. A very, very short and sweet synopsis there. But yeah, I'm really excited for this one.
Nice. Okay. Well, hopefully that helps you get out of your reading slump.
God, I hope so. I don't remember how to read.
What about you, Jason?
I recently just got through the Wayward Children series by Sean and McGuire. It takes place at a boarding school for children who have journeyed to magical lands and have been forcibly returned to the real world. They're all novellas, with a couple of short stories thrown in there. The volumes alternate between being set at the school versus showing the lives of the children while they were in the alternate worlds. So think like the kid, like Alice from Alice in Wonderland, the siblings from Narnia, Dorothy from Oz. Like they go to these magical worlds, have these adventures, and then now they're back in the real world and they are screwed up from it. And the school helps them reassimilate back into the. That's not accurate. They just help them get used to being
reacclimate.
Do they have
not really, not even reacclimate. Because that's spoilery. It just accepts them and acknowledges, okay, you were in this magical world. We believe you, but this is a real world, and you kind of have to
get a 9 to 5.
If that's what you want. Some kids choose that. Some kids just want to go back to the real world. It's not giving away too much, but like there's these magical doors that appear, and the doors can take many shapes or sizes. They can appear all over the place. And so a lot of these kids just want to find their next door and want to go back to the world.
Is this like a magical AA? reading?
It's
Do they group
less
up together?
AA and more like Professor Xavier's School for Gifted, like youngsters kind of thing. Like all these kids came from different worlds and they're all a little different. Like one kid might have come from a nonsense world made out of candy. And so now she's in the real world and doesn't understand why the oceans aren't made out of Pepsi. Or another kid could have gone into a world that was ruled by vampires. And now they come back and they eat a very high iron diet. So very Miss Peregrine.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I love this series. They're all novellas. I ate up all 10 and the short stories in probably like less than 2 weeks. Great. As with a lot of these longer series, though, like the books vary in enjoyability. Some are 5 stars, some are 3, but all in all, I highly recommend if you like these kind of stories where you go to other lands and then come back.
You put it on my TBR.
Yeah,
Nice.
Every Heart a Doorway, right?
That's the first one. Yes, Every Heart a Doorway.
Okay.
Yes, which is definitely, I would say, one of the better ones of the series. So it starts strong. Laura, what about you? What have you been reading?
I just read Cold Eternity by S.A. Barnes. It was an arc from Tor, so thank you very much for that. It's a space horror that was actually just published, so it is available to purchase now. But I thought it was really interesting because it follows this woman named Hallie who's on the run from an interplanetary political scandal. So she ends up taking this job on this glitchy space barge that is holding cryogenically frozen elites, super rich, well-off people, and they've been there for over a century. And
Walt Disney's in there?
He might be. But the only company she has is basically the ship's glitchy AI holograms. So she's fairly isolated, and so after a while it gets to her and she starts seeing and hearing these unsettling things in the ship, and so that kind of leads to the danger. I believe I've read another one of Barnes's novels. They tend to all lean towards space horror, and I really like them. I think with this one it's interesting because her political side of her, dictates a lot of how she views things and what she does. And it also shows that she doesn't really know what she's doing. She doesn't know how to really defend herself or anything like that. So it's just kind of different from some of the other space horrors that I've read. My only thing that I don't like is that I feel like it took a little too long to get to the more interesting stuff. So it kind of got a little boring and towards the middle where it was really just like her exploring the ship and figuring out what she wants to do. But once we get to the actual mystery where she's figuring things out, that's when a lot of the action starts and it really picks up from there. So I will probably continue to read her other novels.
These are all standalone books?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
Nice.
they are. And then currently I just started Oathbound by Tracy Dion. I'm mainly listening to the audiobook. I don't know.
Keep me updated. Erin and I have both read it. Keep me updated on how you're doing.
I think I'm about 20% through, and I just very not interested.
Really? Oh, that's crazy.
And I don't know if that's, and maybe, I mean, your reactions are kind of telling me the answer, but my initial thought was, I don't know if it's just not great or if I'm just not in the right mindset for it.
I've heard a lot of different opinions on it, and so I'm curious how you go through the book and like how you're feeling at every point in it. So like, yeah, keep me updated because I'm very curious to see how other people perceive the book through all of its parts. Like I put up like a reading vlog where you can see me check in like every 100 pages of like, here's how I'm doing, because it is very long.
It's very long.
It's like in physical, it's like 650 pages.
Yeah, and the audiobook I think was like 25 hours.
Yeah.
And I think I have it on 1.5. You think I should go faster than that?
At least 1.7.
She does actually kind of read slow.
I mean,
But yeah, I don't know. I'm kind of bummed because I really liked the first two books because Oathbound is the third book. It's the Legendborn cycle. And so I guess I was just expecting something different.
I will say,
Yeah.
I don't know if you're already aware of this. I was, and it just becomes very apparent, or it's like very obvious the whole time you're reading it. Legendborn was originally a trilogy, and it later got expanded to 4 books. And it's kind of one of those at like the point where you're at like 20%, where you're kind of like, did we need an extra book?
Did we need this? Do I need to know this information?
Keep me updated. I want to know how it's going.
Okay. Well, if anybody's interested, though, the first 2 books are great.
Phenomenal.
A YA modern day urban fantasy twist on the Arthurian legend. So I do at least recommend those first 2 books so far.
Yeah, one was good.
Oh.
Aaron's also iffy on Bloodmarked.
I thought it was
I have
fine.
my own reasons, but that is for another show.
Okay.
So,
another time.
yes, another time.
I'm probably more in line with Aaron. I love the first book, second book. I enjoyed overall, but by the end of it, I was like, I'm probably fine if I don't continue on with this series. I might get to it, but if I ended it here, I think I'd be okay. And so hearing that the third one isn't that great is like, oh, I feel validated. I feel like I made the right call.
So I hear that, and I respect that for sure. I'm waiting for something, and if I don't get it by this fourth one, which is supposed to be the last one, then I can do a book burning. But
Wow.
only for 3 of them. Only for 3 of them. The first one is precious. It's great.
Okay.
That's where I'll leave that. Great writer.
Escalated.
Nobody else condones Aaron's words. Just FYI. Would like to distance myself from this.
Yeah.
The season just started and we're getting canceled immediately.
Yep.
Thank you, Aaron.
Hey,
Thanks,
you can
Aaron.
email me personally at emmaskies.
Not even what the email is, so we're great. Aaron doesn't know how to contact me.
Well, let's get into our discussion of the episode. Again, we read All Systems Red by Martha Wells. It's a sci-fi novella originally published May 2nd, 2017 by, I believe it was Tor.com.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, who am I going to pick on for the synopsis? Aaron.
Hey.
Would you like to read the synopsis for us?
Read the synopsis for you guys. All Systems Red. In a corporate-dominated spacefaring future, planetary mission must be approved and supplied by the company. For their own safety, exploratory teams are accompanied by company-supplied security androids. But in a society where contracts are awarded to the lowest bidder, safety isn't a primary concern. On a distant planet, a team of scientists is conducting surface tests, shadowed by their company-supplied droid, a self-aware. This is a lot of dashes in these.
You good?
It's just like one long word. Let me start that over. On a distant planet, a team of scientists is conducting surface tests, shadowed by their company-supplied droid, a self-aware sec unit that has hacked its own government module and refers to itself, though never out loud, as Murderbot. Scornful of humans, Murderbot wants to be left alone long enough to figure out who it is. But when a neighboring mission goes dark, it's up to the scientists and Murderbot to get to the truth.
Thank you, Aaron.
Aaron, do you remember when we were talking about M-dashes and you were like, I don't know what that is. I've never seen that. That's an M-dash.
1,000 of them in this. Like,
it's just a dash.
like, can we go back to commas? All right.
Well, thank you for reading that, even though there were a lot of dashes. Let's do a non-spoiler first impressions or reviews. Oh, actually, I guess we should again clarify that myself, Emma, and Aaron have already read this book more than once.
Yeah, second time.
Mm-hmm.
Jason, this is your first time.
I don't know why we need to call me out again. We said it up front. That was good enough, I think. But
some people might skip the intro. I don't know.
Well, but they're psychopaths, whoever is doing that. But
this actually might be the first book.
Your first reread?
Yeah,
Oh,
Oh.
nice.
I think it is. Yeah, it's my first reread.
Get on my level. I've read this book 4 times.
Wow.
Okay, overachiever.
Okay, so non-spoiler reviews, I guess, would be the term for us three. First impressions would for Jason.
Okay.
Wow. Way to separate.
Okay. Way to make me feel othered here, Laura. Thank you.
So
Appreciate that.
should we start with Jason then? Is that what
Let's
you're
start with
going?
the
Sure.
Sure, let's start with
Yeah.
Jason.
Odd
Okay.
man out.
What'd you think?
I hated it. This book sucked. No, I'm kidding.
I'm gonna
Wow.
leave.
I'm
Bye.
kidding. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
Out.
I did enjoy it. I did quite enjoy it. I will say though, I think perhaps because I've heard so much good things about it from you three and the internet and other people, my expectations of it were pretty damn high. And so I think it came under my expectations. But again, like I said, I think that might be also taken into consideration. This is the first of a series, and I can judge the series as a whole later. For book one, just the first novella, I did really like it. As a lot of people say online, like they relate to Murderbot in some ways. I definitely do. Murderbot is kind of everyone, which is funny to say about a robot who calls himself Murderbot. But yeah, Murderbot was very likable. The character is Murderbot was very likable. And I thought this was a great start to the series. I am very excited to read more, which is great because I jumped the gun and bought like the first 5 of these books as they came out for no reason because I just anticipated loving them.
You were ready.
I was ready. This is my kind of book. So yeah, I'm a fan. And I'll leave it at there for now.
Okay. Well, I'm sorry that we may have overhyped it and
Not you
given
specifically,
you
just
wrong expectations.
No, not you guys specifically. They're not wrong expectations. I just, like everybody. I haven't heard a single person say they don't like Murderbot. And so it's like, oh, I'm gonna get my fucking socks blown off like by reading this. Like I'm gonna love this book, and it wasn't quite that, but I can definitely see me loving the series as it goes on.
Okay.
I will let you know. All Systems Red, the one that you just read, is my 3rd favorite in the series. So it does
There you go.
up. Yeah.
There you go. There's room to go. Cool.
What's your first?
Network Effect.
Oh, I haven't read it.
We don't need to talk about the other ones.
Yes,
yet.
Okay.
yes.
All right.
Emma, would you like to share your non-spoiler thoughts?
Well, given that I've read it 4 times, I feel like it's pretty obvious where I stand on this one. I love this book. I love this book so much. I remember the first time I read these, I read the first 4 of them on various trips to and from the Bay Area. That's very local for us, but for us where we are, it's like a 2-hour drive, 2 to 2.5 hour drive. So like perfect length of time for a Murderbot book, and you could basically get one on the way up and one on the way down. And I just adore these books. I adore them so much. They are such a comfort read for me. Like they make me feel warm and fuzzy, even when the books themselves sometimes are not warm and fuzzy. Murderbot as a character and like the surrounding cast of characters that's around it is just it's so heartwarming. It's so well done, and there's something to be said that maybe we'll talk about a little bit later about this. It's not a utopia and it's not a dystopia. It's a utopian sort of conglomerate, like little group within a dystopia. And I think that is such a clever dynamic that Martha Wells writes into this like, you have this corporate dystopia, this bizarre spacefaring oligarchy, and yet within that there are good people, there are good things, there is like this warm and fuzzy center that is like just trying their best. And Murderbot as a character is fantastic. I love it so much. I adore these books. They make me so happy.
Yeah, the audiobooks or they're such nice short reads to get done on your trips, your drives.
Yeah, that is a good point. The audiobooks are like the perhaps best way to take these in. I'm a huge fan of the audiobooks, and if anybody's looking for that, I'm telling you the audiobook, not the graphic audio.
Agreed.
Not the graphic audio. Just the audiobook narrated by Kevin Arfrey, who does a really, really fantastic job with Murderbot.
Jason looks confused.
No, I want to check out the graphic audio. No, I want to check it out now.
No, it got me intrigued.
I think it's only on Audible.
No, it's at the library too, because my library keeps trying to default to it. Here's the thing that I'll say: not only is the graphic audio bad, but to get you off of thinking you might want to, graphic audio is abridged. And I'm sorry, abridging a 2.5-hour audiobook is ridiculous. It's already 2.5 hours. You don't need to abridge that. But yeah, they're pretty abridged.
See, but I'm a fan of radio plays. And aren't graphic audios just like essentially radio plays?
Yep.
Yeah, but they're bad.
Okay.
It's like a poorly produced radio play with bad acting
Like
and bad
somebody
sound
didn't grow
effects.
up listening to The Shadow, and it shows.
Look, Jason, you can listen. You can get back to us on it.
Like back in my day, okay, we didn't have TVs yet. We all gathered around the radio.
Wow.
Had to wind it up.
Had to wind it up.
Aaron, what are your non-spoiler thoughts?
I enjoyed it the second time, reading it again just as much as the first time. I do like the overall setting, of course. I am into I do like the sci-fi that isn't such a bleak future type of thing. Like, I don't need it to be all bleak, like, oh, in the future there's nothing but war type of thing. And this shows a different window into I feel eerily similar future to like our present. And then Murderbot is a great character. Like, Murderbot, getting inside the inner thoughts of Murderbot as well. Like, I don't think you can get it from another perspective that would make me like this more. Like, if they did it in third person or something. I like the little snarky remarks that Murderbot, puts out, the don't look at me type of stuff. So it's a good book. Like, it's definitely one of my favorite sci-fi books for sure.
Yeah. Well, I am glad that you like a book that you are reading with us for our show.
I mean,
A nice change of pace.
Wow. I've liked other books.
Is it cheating that we knew he liked it going into it?
It might be a little bit.
Laura, what do you think of it?
It's definitely one of my favorites. All three of you kind of covered all the same things that I enjoy about it. I think it's just also just a lot of fun. Even though there are obviously stakes to what's happening in the story, there are so many different aspects of Murderbot's personality that pretty much anyone can connect to. And it made it really fun, even in the serious scenes. And overall, it's just really enjoyable. I liked all the characters. They all have their own personalities and things that they worry about. And, you guys touched a little bit on the world building, the way that things work in this universe is very interesting. A lot of different levels to it. And I think, something that we've talked about in previous episodes, Jason and I, well, it's also sometimes with you, Emma. I'm not always a fan of novellas because it can be really easy to not have enough or have too much information. And Martha Wells did such a great job at keeping this pretty well contained. And we got enough information and weren't necessarily given extra information to make us wonder about other things.
Yeah.
And so this is my third read, I think. The first time was the book, and then I listened to the audiobook next. And then this time I did a combination of both. I definitely really enjoyed the audiobook, but it's still also a really great experience reading as well. So yeah, I was excited to reread this and be able to do this episode with you guys.
I just want to point out, I think it's funny that I've read it once, Aaron's read it twice, Laura 3 times, and Emma read it 4 times.
Yep.
So there you go. That's nice.
Yep.
It's the book that I make people listen to when they're trapped in a car with me. Like if I'm driving somebody to San Francisco, I'm like, oh, we're going to listen to this. I took a drive with my mom in New York and we had to drive like 3 hours. And I was like, guess what I have for us to listen to? Like if you are stuck in a car with me, we are going to listen to Murderbot.
I think that's a great idea.
Is it?
Yeah.
It's a captive audience, all right?
Look,
okay.
It's better than letting your husband play crypto videos, okay?
Oh, God.
Talk about a dystopian, dude.
That sounded very specific. You good?
Yeah, I'm okay.
Blink twice if you need help, Laura.
let's jump into spoilers. So if anybody's listening that hasn't read it and doesn't want any spoilers, pause, go read or listen to the book, come back. Surprisingly, I feel like there's a lot we can talk about, even though it's a novella. So let's just open it up. What did you guys like or potentially not like about this book?
I was surprised that Murderbot has organic parts. I was expecting more of like an old school, just like actual robot. And I remember when I saw the trailer for the show, and like, oh, we did have full on a human playing him. Like, I was very confused. I was like, is that a change for the show because it's such a recognizable actor or what? And so that was kind of surprising to me. And I think one of the things that like changed my enjoyment of it, because I like the idea of having more like an old school retro sci-fi robot going on this journey as opposed to more of like he has a human face and organic parts. I'm like, okay, that's still cool, but
just as a note for referring to Murderbot, because I think this is probably going to come up a bunch in the show too. The pronouns for Murderbot are it. It like isn't a person. It doesn't want to be a person. It starts to talk about this, a little bit later, but like he, she, and they, it like is very clear that it's not a person and it doesn't want to be. But I think people are going to do the same thing. I think because Alexander Skarsgård is playing the character. I used to struggle with that a lot more before I read them a bunch of times because the narrator is a male narrator. And I was like, I'm hearing a male voice, like a classically male voice. But yeah, Murderbot is like very staunch that like it's an it.
good to call
Yeah, and I think in this book it's only mentioned
like once, I think.
Once, yeah.
So it's not a really big thing, but yeah, spoilers, I guess, in that aspect is it is brought up regularly after that in the other books.
Well, and I really like that. I mean, it talks about that a little bit in this one too, but it's a sort of a continuing thing throughout the series. Is it's not really about like the gender or the genderlessness of Murderbot at all, but the idea, the like acceptance that it is what it is, and that's fine. And they're not gonna, they're not gonna push it to be something it doesn't want to be. It's very, very clear that it's not a person and it doesn't want to be, and like it's very comfortable where it's at and very comfortable with who it is in that place. And it's just like, okay. All right. Yeah, like we don't need to do anymore. Like we could just move on from that. And the idea that they, everybody, we sort of get that throughout this book as well, but things that continue, but like they treat it like a person because it's sentient and because it deserves to be treated with respect. Regardless of whether they're treating it like quote unquote a person or a sentient being or whatever, it deserves respect because it is a sentient being. And like there's just something so wholesome about the whole crew, the whole preservation alliance. I love them so much. And like they're not even like a foil for Murderbot, they're just such a great backdrop for Murderbot because Murderbot is so used to like being treated like an object. And like that I think juxtaposition of being an it, of being so staunchly stuck on the fact that it is an it, or not even stuck on the fact, but like that's just what it is. And yet it still deserves all these things that preservation gives to it. It's sort of autonomy that is denied to it, from everybody else. And that's, I think, goes into the sort of idea that I love about it being this sort of like gooey center in this really bleak dystopia.
What I did really enjoy is like we've seen stories of artificial beings wanting to become sentient, right? Like I'm thinking of like Bicentennial Man.
Yeah.
This kind of story has been done a lot. And I think that these robots wanting to become human view human and humanity almost as like some sort of pinnacle to become. And it's always like it's always the humanity that's portrayed is the best version of it.
Right.
And so I really like the idea of Murderbot becoming a sentient being isn't the best version of it. It's the realistic version of it.
Right.
That makes sense.
It's almost like in a lot of other sci-fi, I feel like we're sort of presented with the idea that, okay, this being has become sentient. It must yearn for humanity, for a soul in the way that we decide whatever that means, this sort of metaphysical, all of that. And Murderbot's just like, no, I'm a sentient being. That's who I am. I don't need anything else. I don't need to be like you. I don't want to be like you. Like, I'm just happy here. And preservation is like, okay.
Yes, thank you for putting it succinctly. Yes.
I just really like preservation. I think they're all really good people.
Yeah, they're all amazing. The whole team is just amazing. They bring different things to it and address different topics or issues related to Murderbot, and I thought it's just an interesting way for them to be interacting with them. And I thought it was funny that sometimes they would ask it questions and then Mensa would get after them.
Yeah.
I told you to leave it alone.
Stop talking to it. You're going to make it uncomfortable. Well, it's a really interesting dynamic with them too, because you have this whole overarching sort of corporate dystopia, this oligarchy in a way that is so ubiquitous and is so baked into this world building that the company is literally just called the company.
Yeah.
And like that's not lazy writing that Martha Wells didn't name the company. That's like a really important distinction to make, that like it doesn't need a name. It is so ubiquitous that it is the company. So you have that backdrop of this like world-faring oligarchy, and in the middle of that is this little group of people, this little planet, this are they living on a moon maybe? I can't even remember if they're on a planet or a moon, that is for all intents and purposes socialist. They're like a socialist utopia in the middle of this. And so they're having to deal with like, okay, well, we want to go on this mission. So now we have to figure out how their money works and how their laws and regulations work. And like, okay, we need this because this is what they tell us we need, but we don't want it. You know, we don't want Murderbot, but we have to have X amount of dollars and X amount of whatever currency credits. And like all the stuff that they're having to figure out on the back end, because they're just this little island, this little oasis in the middle of this corporate oligarchy, which I think is a really interesting way to explore all of those dynamics. It's like it's kind of this thing where they don't focus on the corporate dystopia and they don't focus on the socialist utopia. They don't focus on any of them because you're all getting it through Murderbot, who's kind of just aware of these things but isn't focused on it. And the balance that Martha Wells is able to strike with that is so good, because there's a version of this where that goes wrong and you get no information or you don't get enough information and it's just like boring and not fleshed out. But the way that it is presented through Murderbot's eyes makes a ton of sense, and it works so well.
You really like this book.
I love it so much. I love it so much.
Like, what else is there to add?
I think the three of us can just get going. You guys want to get here and just keep going for another 30 minutes.
Mute my mic.
It's like, oh, and there was weapons and stuff like
so
that.
There were weapons. There's this thing. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah. So then I like the progression of how Murderbot kind of slowly integrates with the group as well. So like in the very beginning, when they have the attack from the creature, I don't think they just call it the fauna, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like
something like that, yeah Hostile one.
And then there's a scene where Murderbot is kind of looking at the old vids of what happened and how Murderbot is carrying one of them. Which one was he carrying up and giving like?
Is it Baradouage?
I think so.
Yeah.
But like talking to him.
Mm-hmm.
And here, look in my face, trying to make him feel comfortable in this really, high tense situation, stuff like that.
Yeah, it's the first time it takes off his faceplate.
Exactly. Yeah, the first time it takes off his faceplate, like it understands, like this is scary. You probably don't want like the Terminator in front of you, helping you out. So let me bring. As much as I can't stand you people or, humans in general type of thing, not even like can't stand, but like, I just want to be left alone type of situation. I got a job to do and I'm going to do it adequately, I guess. Not like going out of his way or out of Murderbot's way to kind of do the best that it can. So I liked that because it's kind of like a different take on a hero, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
It's not a traditional, like, oh, Murderbot's here to save the day all the time.
Yeah, like reluctant hero.
Yeah. And I like that. Like, you don't get a lot of characters like that in other books where it's like, yeah, okay, I'll do this. All right.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of seems like it's a chore at some times.
Oh, all the time. Yeah.
Yeah. So I like characters like that whenever I get those because it's a break from the norm for sure.
Yeah, Murderbot is literally just like, I want to watch my goddamn soap opera, and you
Like
people
700 hours.
keep almost getting yourselves killed, and you're getting in the way of me watching my goddamn soap operas.
I liked in that scene too that Murderbot did not remember how it handled that situation of rescuing her, and saw in the feed playback, oh, I had whole conversation, asked about kids, and like didn't remember that at all, and then connected that to what it had learned by watching media. Like, oh, I must have learned this from whatever I watched.
And that's one of the things that I think a lot of people really love about the book too, is like Murderbot is very clearly like autistic coded. And so a lot of what Murderbot does can be considered masking. It's seeing these things play out in the people that's around it, in the media that it takes in, and sort of understanding, okay, here's the sort of A to B connection of like, this is the reaction to have in these situations that makes people comfortable. This is a reaction that maybe makes people uncomfortable. And like, that's how it sees the world, and it learns everything through human media. I am, one of the things that I'm worried about with the show, or maybe not worried about, but curious how they're going to do, is how often is Murderbot's faceplate going to be off? Is the helmet going to be off? Because Murderbot's helmet is almost never off. And when they cast Alexander Skarsgård, I was like, oh no, they cast somebody really hot for Murderbot.
Well,
but it's okay. They fucked up his hair, so he looks a little funky.
No, but there's
now, honestly.
There is a point though when Mensa does talk to it and says, "I need you to keep your helmet off for them to see you.
Yeah.
They need to see you as a
member of
quote
the
unquote
crew.
person, a member of the crew." Yeah. And so I there's going to be a point where it's actively trying to remember or having to deal with not being able to cover its face.
Yeah.
But they paid a lot of money for Skarsgård. They're gonna get their.
I'm kind of hoping
producer.
Money's worth.
Yeah, he's a producer. I'm kind of hoping that we'll get like a Mandalorian situation where like they have Pedro Pascal, but you almost never see Pedro Pascal.
Yeah.
That was crazy. Yeah. So
I think we all had that same worry with Mandalorian, where it's like, oh, it's Pedro Pascal. They're gonna have his mask off all the time. No, they're not.
But the thing I'm curious about, not to keep it on with the show, but in the book, Murderbot looks through a lot of different lenses. Like, doesn't just stay through its own eyes.
Like, are we going to get that perspective?
Are we going to get that? Yeah. And then conversations are picked up through those lenses as well, from people talking about it and memories, like you said before. Like, how is that going to be displayed? Are we going to get all of that as well? So
I was wondering that too.
It'll be interesting and I like that perspective of like Murderbot is looking at you talk about it from a different room or something like that, and you don't even know. I the perspective of Murderbot in this book, I really, really enjoyed. Like, I don't know. It was just good. It was just good.
I think this is something that you and I, Aaron, will talk about in our watch podcast, at least in the first couple episodes. But there's something where adapting a book is difficult enough, and adapting each book obviously comes with its own challenges. But there's something very specific about adapting a first person book versus a third person, because then when you're reading first person, you are quite literally seeing everything through their eyes. And then when you move that into a visual medium, you can change the story in like really big ways.
If they do the camera shots, then like the different camera shots that Murderbot's looking through, then yeah, I think it'd be fine. That internal monologue, you can do that with a voiceover. Skarsgård can just do a voiceover. There's a scene where it makes its mask like kind of clear or whatever, I think, and they see its reaction whenever they're is like disgust or whatever.
Oh yeah.
And that's one I'm really looking forward to, because I thought that was a funny scene. And
because isn't that when they ask it to like, they're like, oh, do you want to sit and have breakfst with us or something like that?
Something.
Yeah, like you want to join us or something. Yeah.
It was clearly horrified at the idea.
Like, oh man, did they see that? Like, yeah, everybody caught on to that one. But I like the reveal of them finding that his govern whatever thing was just module gone, or is not, didn't work.
Hacked. Yeah.
It was hacked. Yeah. So all the decisions Murderbot's been making up to then is like, oh, this is just on it. Like it's been making all these decisions on its own. Like that, I don't know, like to fit all that stuff, like a world so big in a short period of time, like it takes skill.
Yeah.
Like I didn't feel like I missed out on any part of the world or couldn't imagine like how things worked in the world in this short period of time. And like short books, short stories, you can miss a lot. So to be able to cramp all that stuff in there, yeah, no, I that was very, very skillful. That was good.
We haven't really touched much on the plot itself. What did you all think about the plot? Like the mystery of who's trying to kill them and why? Did that feel fleshed out to you?
Yeah, it was. I mean, it didn't need to go too in depth. I guess like I didn't need to like kind of trace it all the way back to because I feel like it was all explained actually as well.
Mm-hmm.
I like the mystery of it in the beginning of like, okay, these other sec bots or whatever are being controlled, and like we don't know what's happening. I always like an element of mystery, of course, though in books.
Yeah. What I thought worked well was that like for the mystery element of this book, and it works well in a lot of mystery novels in general, which I feel can be kind of shorter, is that you're introduced at the very end to the Moriarty, and it
Mhm.
sets it up for future books. So
Right.
it didn't feel like I needed it all in this book because I know more is coming, and it's kind of that nice hook at the end to keep going.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Remind
yeah.
me what it is that you find out at the end in terms of the Moriarty of it all. The books are all like melded together in my head, so I'm like, what do I know from
Same.
other books?
It's Gray Chris.
Okay, yeah. I couldn't remember if you got the Grey
corporation.
Chris name in this one or not. Okay,
Yeah.
yes.
So obviously we find out like there's this other entity who is working on something, and it sets it up. And so like that was very much like, oh, I get a name now, and now we're going to end it here to be continued.
Yes.
And it's a
And
great
she's
way.
really, really good at doing that, especially for like as we keep mentioning, like novella, like especially for a novella, she's really great at making it episodic.
Mm-hmm.
It's like you've gotten your single episode, you've introduced what's going to sort of maybe be a continuing thing through the next episodes, but it's not a huge cliffhanger, it's not a huge like you've gotten your story, beginning, middle, and end in this one complete episode, which I think she does very well in this book and throughout the series. And it's another thing I'm curious how the show's going to do with 8 episodes with this one book, this one novella.
Yeah. I was wondering that too.
Like, how are we going to fill 8 hours of content here?
I wonder if it's going to bring in any of the elements from the short stories. I haven't read them obviously, but I know there's a short story that takes
or
place
like, are
after.
we just going to get a whole lot more information on Grey Chris? Are we going to
Maybe.
get like a much more fleshed out Grey Chris?
I can see
Or-
them doing that. Yeah.
We're going to get a lot of Sanctuary Moon.
I was just going to say, are we going to get
That's
like
what I
4 full
Mhm.
episodes of Sanctuary Moon? Okay, we have not talked about Sanctuary Moon of it all. I'm so desperately hopeful for us getting like a good chunk of Sanctuary Moon. What I fear and what I worry about is that what we've seen in the trailer is a good chunk of what you see in the show, that like you just get a couple of clips here and there. I want like genuinely throughout the series, I want like half an hour at least of Sanctuary Moon content spread across 8 episodes.
I don't think you're going to get that much
I
for the
want
first
it.
season.
Especially for like the cast that they got in it.
That's
Yeah.
a pretty good
Great
cast.
Yeah. I feel that, but I don't think they're going to, like, I could see it for season 2 type of thing, but I don't think they're going to cut away that much to
Like,
that.
it's not even 4 minutes per episode. All right. I think 30 minutes
could
across
do
8
it.
episodes is perfectly reasonable.
I think,
I would love to get like a good solid chunk, and like to get into the actual Sanctuary Moon of it all. Like there's something to be said for the fact that of all of the things that Murderbot watches TV shows, it watches movies, it reads books, it takes in every possible form of media, and the thing that it has connected so deeply to is a soap opera. Is this very high drama sort of telenovela sort of thing here, that with like every single reaction and every single plot line and every single interaction on that show is ridiculous, and it's supposed to be. And it's like, I think that there's just something so sweet about the fact that like that is the thing that has so captured Murderbot's heart, or Murderbot's approximation of a heart, however you want to refer to it, because it is so far opposite of what Murderbot understands of life, of what its own experience of life is this crazy soap opera. And there's a part of it that I think works in the narrative because it's funny, right? Like it's funny to write out these little scenes that it's really obsessed with, but there is a sort of like meta narrative there on like what it's so drawn to and how high octane emotional all of this is. I love the Sanctuary Moon stuff so much.
What was the scene where Murderbot reacts to somebody getting something wrong about the show?
Oh yeah.
Accusing somebody, it's like, oh no, that is not what happened.
That's not true.
Yeah, that's not true. Yeah, I was like that's
he actually did not kill her. If you watch the episode,
yeah.
And they're like, okay, it definitely watched it.
Yeah, it watches it. I'm hoping, and I think the Sanctuary Moon can work either at, because we already covered that what some of Murderbot has learned has come from the show.
Yeah.
And so I can see it working where either they set up each individual episode or it plays in when something happens. But like the thing that almost like the G.I. Joe PSAs at the end of episodes, like they did a separate thing that related to the episode itself. I'm hoping every episode has a thing.
It's like a tie-in.
Here's a scene from this soap opera that then ties into this episode and whatever Murderbot does or the situation.
I thought maybe like Watchmen comics, how they had that other story.
The Black Freighter.
Yeah, like I thought that's what I thought was going how they might portray it in the show and stuff like that. Like it's kind of not parallel, but like it plays alongside or whatever. I mean, I guess that is parallel, but I don't know if they're going to do a 30 minutes worth of
look across 8 episodes. I keep saying 8 episodes. I'm not 100% sure it's 8. I feel like it's 8.
I'm not sure either.
No, it's 16. Why not? It's just since we're just making numbers up. Yeah.
10 episodes apparently.
10.
That's 10. A lot.
Okay, so 3 minutes per episode of Sanctuary Moon. I am not asking for the moon here. Ha! Sanctuary Moon. I am asking for the moon.
Wow.
All right, so that's where you guys usually wrap up, right? On those.
And thank you for joining us.
Yeah. If you don't wrap up, that's at least where the listeners have wrapped up.
Look, I have a lot of feelings about Murderbot and Sanctuary Moon. I just really love this series. I really love this little android.
So, Rico, you're going to go forward with reading the rest of them, right?
Yeah, I'm going to go through all of them next.
You're going to blow through all of them now?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Part of the reason I was waiting was because I know more were coming.
Oh, okay.
So I originally was pushing it, but I was like, I really fucking want to get to this. And so, yeah, it's fine.
I believe currently she's contracted for 9.
Good Lord.
Wow.
So 7 are out. I think she's contracted for 9.
Okay.
I
can wait.
And your expectations are lowered now?
Not lowered, more accurate.
Okay.
More realistic.
There you go. More realistic. Yeah. Yes. I think I know exactly like what the rest of this series is going to deliver, which I'm excited about. I'm excited.
Sci-fi bar for you though, like that you would put it up against. I'm trying to gauge like, because me personally, the next one is my favorite. Like
Gotcha.
The next one is my favorite out of the series so far.
It's my second favorite.
Gotcha. Well, it also didn't help that I just came off of another Tor.com series of novellas, which is The Wayward Children.
Oh, okay.
And that first book for me was 5 stars.
Wow.
And because I didn't really hear anything about that series whatsoever. Like I knew what the premise was, and that was it. I hear no one talking about it. So I went in kind of blind, and I really enjoyed it. And there's a couple other 5-star books in that series. So that is my blueprint for and I think there's 10 books out right now for that series. So that is my blueprint for a multi-book novella series that's very well done.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so, which very different vibes, obviously, but I couldn't help kind of like, well, this one didn't quite achieve that. But again, I think is because I went into it with preconceived notions, expecting it to be amazing, which it was very good. But
Emma. So it's to the moon, right?
To the moon.
Yeah.
I just checked every How to Doorway out for my library.
Nice. I'm not even gonna age myself because this was before my time, but To the Moon reminded me of the Honeymooners.
Domestic violence?
Yeah, pow, to the moon, Alice, or whatever.
Wow.
Yeesh.
Good old-fashioned family violence.
So you've said now that you have a feeling, you have a good idea of like where the rest of the series is going to go. What do you think that is? Like, what are you feeling this is going to deliver for you?
Well, I think I did accidentally read somewhere that the first few books are mostly standalone and episodic. So I'm anticipating probably the first 4 books to be Murderbot running off on its adventures. Like I said, standalone, maybe not really connected, but we'll probably get mention of Grey Chris in the background. And then it all kind of comes together. If I had to bet money, probably in the novel length book, I would guess that's where it all comes together. Could be wrong about that, but we'll see. So yeah, mostly just kind of adventures here and there from planet to planet, moon to moon, base to base. And then Grey Chris coming in at the end to shake things up. And then perhaps Murderbot lives on another day after that.
Yeah. It seems like a great time for me to make fun of Aaron for having refused to read the second book for a really long time.
No.
Yes.
No,
yes,
I went right
you
into
would
the
not
second
read
book.
the second book because you were like, "Oh, he's in a good place. He's happy. Like Murderbot's all set," and you're like, "I don't want to change that." And you would not read
yeah, well, I
Artificial
mean,
Condition for the fucking longest.
to be fair, you can read it as a standalone. All right,
True.
you can
You're
have
not
it
wrong.
as a standalone, and you can be like, "This is I live in this glass world that's inside of this, this dome, and everything is safe and comfortable here, and I don't need to go further out." There's a couple of books like that.
Yeah, because you also refused to read the second Monk and Robot book for the same reason.
Yeah, I won't. Because we left on a good spot. We're safe. We're calm. We're zen.
But you loved book 2 of Murderbot, so you
I do.
of
But
Monk and
these are totally different worlds. Totally different bots.
But the concept is the same, and you were proven wrong.
No. One has a tea shop. One does not have a tea shop.
Oh my God,
that's for sure. So,
refuse.
But I would recommend, like, knowing what I know now, I would recommend going, further, at least to the second one. Because then you can be like, Murderbot's safe again. Let's keep it there. Let's keep it there.
The end of every episode, Aaron's just like, okay, I don't know that I want to continue. The episode is over. And then you read the next episode and you're like, it's great.
I didn't personally read Divergent.
Where is this going?
But I heard
from me.
I heard that if you went further, or if you grew up with that book, that you were disappointed at the end of that series.
That is a butchering of the things that I have said.
But is it correct? It is. So my fear is you live long enough to see yourself become the villain in there. And I don't want that for the characters that I hold dear. So when it comes to Murderbot, it's like, it's happy. The question I would pose to you is, why do you want to see Murderbot sad? That's what I want to know.
The question I would pose to you is, why do you keep trying to make me watch the final seasons of shows?
Because we stopped watching shows like we are on legit. That needs to be its own thing. We have like 4 or 5 shows that we have never finished. We'll get to the final season, and then she wants to just stop.
Which shows?
So since 8,
Orphan Black,
Orphan Black, The Runaways. I never watched
the last season. Oh, I never watched the last season of The Runaways. I've never seen the last season of Breaking Bad.
Never. So we'll watch all of them.
Wow.
We'll watch all of them, and then it's like, well, last season. Well, that's it. All right, let's go. It's like, let's finish this.
Okay, you have to finish Sense8.
I know. It's because I just never watched the movie. It's the movie that I didn't watch.
That was the first
the
one.
long episode.
That was
going to be the last season.
Yes. Because I remember that whole saga.
Yeah.
I remember that. I was very much a part of that whole saga, and then I just never got around to watching it.
It's terrible.
Happens. And yet Aaron's over here like, oh, it's totally fine that I don't want to continue the series.
But no, they don't end. They all the things that we've watched have ended in cliffhangers. None of them have ended where everything's okay and you can just walk away. It was all like, what's gonna happen next? Oh, what's gonna
It's the same concept.
We've been starting to do that with books too. I'm sorry, Gideon the Ninth.
Oh, I'm caught up on that. Yeah.
All right, so then I'm gonna start reading these.
Don't you dare.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
As much as I think this series for sure needs to be read through, the Murderbot Diaries, I do agree that the first book does wrap up pretty nicely as one on its own.
Right?
I feel like you tend to get that a lot with these kind of books because, and I'm wondering, I mean, going back to 2017, you kind of don't know if you're going to get more. Like, as the author, you don't know if you're going to get a deal for more. I don't know if Martha Wells signed a deal initially for more than one book. So you kind of wrap up that first book on the chance that perhaps you never are able to. And then, it was then renewed for X, Y, or Z more books on the contract.
Is there, well, before we, I'm guessing, probably wrap up, I also just wanted to briefly bring up that this book is very LGBTQ friendly.
Yes.
This is queer. Obviously, we've already discussed how Murderbot doesn't have a gender, but we learned that like the preservation team are, some of them are queer characters, some of them are polyamorous, and so I thought that was kind of cool. Like it was just normal. Yeah. We didn't need to get into the details, but it was enough to allow us to learn a little bit more about them. So I love that there was at least some representation in there.
Speak for yourself, because I need to get into it. Because when they mentioned at the very end that Mensa, where I think it was Mensa, had like two partners.
Yes.
And then they have others. Like, and we're going to end it there? Tell me more.
Yeah, there's somebody else on the team that also has a partner who also has their own partners or something to that effect. Yeah.
I think Murderbot wraps it up with like a kind of a rundown. It's like, I don't want it. I don't want and then just like takes off. But like in a way of, I don't want like humanity. I don't want to be this. I don't want to be human. Like I'm good. I'm it. I'm a Murderbot. Like, but yeah, that is a little tease before you go type of thing. I can see that.
I think it's a really nice look at how everything that we see about preservation ties back into the fact that preservation is huge on community. It's community living, it's community production, it's community growing, and it's like their families are community units. They have these like large family units with multiple partners, with or that being more than two partners. It's a very open polyamorous sort of community here, queer normative. I love anything that's queer normative. I mean, there obviously is an importance and a need for more sort of modern, realistic or real to modern stories of having to overcome homophobia and things of that nature. But there's also something to be said for reading queer normative worlds where like it just exists and is unquestioned and is completely fine and is normal. And this is definitely one of those. I love a queer normative world.
Murderbot is asexual.
Yes.
Right. That's like, because I think it mentions that it doesn't have biological
it doesn't
parts,
have
but even if it did, it'd have no interest in sex.
Yeah, no interest.
It talks about how like it fast forwards through the sex scenes in its TV shows.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Yeah. Or like it's like, oh, it's a sex scene, I can tune out, I'm not paying attention. But yeah, it talks about how like it doesn't have the parts anyway, because like if it did, then it would be a comfort bot, and like it doesn't want to be a comfort bot either.
Yeah.
Going back to what Erin said a moment ago, that Murderbot looks at humanity and says, I don't want any part of this, and that's the way the book ends. I'm going to make a prediction for the way the final episode, how this season ends. Murderbot's going to look out to the people. You're going to see Alexander's face, and Murderbot's going to look at humanity's like, I want nothing to do with this. I'm not a human. The face is going to fucking close. The faceplate. He's like, I'm Murderbot. Right dead to the camera. Season over.
I could see that. Yeah.
Okay.
I could. Yeah.
That's my prediction.
That seems like a pretty.
In all of the book, though, in the entire time, it never calls itself Murderbot out loud, right?
No.
Yeah, it never calls
not
itself
out loud.
Murderbot.
No, but it'll be like a thought. It'll be like you'll hear like a VO.
Yeah, they found that out looking through like files and stuff inside.
Like it's like that was private. That was not
Yeah.
real. That was an incredibly private thing.
We didn't even touch on Murderbot's past.
We didn't.
Yeah.
Oh, just the random murder?
Yeah.
I mean,
the giant murder? You mean?
Why
Massacre?
Murderbot hacked
and
we
were just talking about this the other night, Emma, about like characters that have committed like mass
murder.
murders.
Yeah.
But I think the difference is like this wasn't a willing
Right.
type of situation. So yeah, Murderbot lives up to the name. Its past is riddled with death, but not of its own
volition.
Yeah, on volition. Yeah. Oh, wait, who? I can't remember who. Like, why did it kill all those people?
I believe it was its governor chip malfunctioned or something malfunctioned that.
Yes, because it was a
made
cheap
it
piece of crap equipment.
That's right, because they didn't want to spend money.
They didn't want to spend more money on it. Which going back to kind of what you were saying earlier, Jason, about like it kind of taking a different tone to other sci-fi novels or similar concepts, maybe like it could go. There's a direction that is very common in sci-fi that it very easily could take, and it doesn't. It takes a different path. And so there's something to be said for the fact that you have this story about this I almost said secretary unit, the security unit, this sec unit, this droid, this robot for all intents and purposes that hacks its own governor module, so it no longer has to listen to humans. And it's not so that it can do anything bad, it's to stop itself from doing anything bad, because it knows that humans fuck up, that humans are lazy, that humans are cheap, and it does not trust them. So it's going to hack its own operating system, because the one time that something horrible happened and it was forced to do something horrific, it was the fault of humans who couldn't be bothered to care about anything but their own greed. And so it hacks its module that's, meant to keep it from murdering people in an effort to not murder people. And I think that's kind of to your point that like there's a lot of places where there's a sort of skeleton here of a really familiar story in sci-fi that you see a lot. And there's really easy directions that it could take that Martha Wells could very easily just kind of like fall into that mold. And she chooses not to. She chooses to kind of subvert a lot of these things in a way that is incredibly fun in this story.
Well said.
I can't believe it took us the entire episode to get to that. Like,
I thought it was interesting too, because the whole book is about how much it doesn't like people, but it's still going to do its job protecting people, and but also still somehow in a way accepts its, obviously to a point, its history of killing people, because it calls itself Murderbot.
Yeah.
And so there's just kind of like interesting back and forth with itself, without how it feels about people and its team. And if I remember correctly, the only thing that it kills in this book is another sec unit.
Yeah.
And it feels sad about it, because it was one of the sec units that it knows was overwritten.
Yeah.
It even has trouble killing itself in the book as well. When it's like being controlled and it turns the gun on itself and shoots itself in the chest. I can't remember what the line was about not shooting itself in the head, as opposed to shooting itself in the chest. Like it knew that it needed to die, or but still kind of couldn't bring itself to do it or something. Like it was.
Yeah, it said something like, "I still want to live."
Yeah. So
yeah,
that was interesting. It's ended up being the most human.
Well, I feel like that's a really great usage of preservation. I'm skipping right over that. It's a really great usage of preservation team in this sort of journey of discovery that Murderbot goes on, because it's the first time, as far as we can tell, preservation and these people is the first time Murderbot sees humans be anything other than horrible, awful, greedy, violent, petty little bitches. Like every interaction it's ever had with humans is sort of based around that. And so I think maybe believes that there are humans that are not like that to some extent through its media, or believes that there are humans that aspire to something like that because they clearly write media about humans like that. but preservation is the first time that Murderbot is ever presented with humans that like are kind and that treat it like it's not, a vacuum cleaner. And like, I mean, there's all these, you kind of hear all these horrible, horrible stories of the things that other clients have made it do, the like bot fighting rings that people would set up and the ways that it would treat them. And yeah, I think there's something really sweet about Murderbot having to kind of contend with its view of humans and its view of humanity against preservation and against these new people, and kind of being like, all I want to do is sit here and watch my media. I hate these people. I don't want, or I kind of nothing these people. I don't want anything to do with them. And yet at every turn, at every possible turn, despite the fact that it has no, demand to do so, it will stop what it's doing to help them. It will drop everything to save them and to help them. And I think that's kind of the sort of ongoing, very sweet look at Murderbot, is like the ways that it has to contend with things like that.
There's a lot in this for being a novella. It's just in certain aspects, it's kind of deep.
Very,
yeah.
And it's nice that we can have so much conversation about it.
Yeah, about an audiobook that's 2.5 hours long, maybe.
It's around there, yeah.
Like 3.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I really love Murderbot. I love it so much.
Well, is there anything else specific about this book that any of you wanted to talk about before we close up here?
No, I'm ready to wrap up so I can start book 2. Like talking about it with you guys has made me more excited to like really get into it and to see where the story goes.
Oh, the one last thing that I will mention for anybody else that is reading this series, this is what we talked about before the show. If you are reading this series for the first time, the one thing that I say to everybody, whoever reads this series, read book 6 before book 5.
Mm-hmm.
As you are going through the series, the order that I firmly believe you should read them is 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 5, and 7. Book 6 is Fugitive Telemetry. It is the only one of the books that is chronologically out of order. It takes place before book 5, and I don't know what happened with like the publishing schedule or the writing schedule or like what was going on there. It's the only one out of order. It doesn't make a ton of sense. It's never really explained. You kind of just have to figure it out on the fly that you're like, oh, we've gone back in time for some reason.
Yeah.
I don't know why they did that. But I tell everybody who is going to read this series, read book 6 before book 5. You will have a better reading experience. I've done it both ways. I've done it in publishing order, which is how I first read it. And I really didn't love book 6. And then I've done it where I read book 6 before book 5. And I had a way better time with it. So that's my little PSA.
Cool.
Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, thanks. Good to know.
It definitely affects the experience.
Yeah.
Okay, so on Goodreads, it has a 4.13 rating out of very nearly 308,000.
Jeez.
So what would we rate it? Or what did we rate it already?
I don't know. I think I was coming into this at rating it a 4.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, I think a 4.
You look like you're second guessing.
I'm trying to think. Well, because like a lot of discussing books always adds more understanding and more depth to it, right? And it's like, cool, now I got more. But the book itself, like what experience did I get from the book? And I still a 4. I think I'm going to say a 4. A solid book. Enjoyed it immensely. Definitely want to keep going. But it didn't have that extra je ne sais quoi to really give it like a 5.
There's room for growth.
Exactly.
Okay.
What about you 3?
For me, it's a 4.5. I loved it from the moment I first read it. I knew I think I'm trying to remember. I think I might have read them like very, very quickly because I was going back and forth to San Francisco a lot of the time, and I was like, oh yeah, this is going to take over my entire personality. So yeah, solid 4.5. I really, really, really love this book. It remains very highly rated no matter how many times I read it. I still love it. It is an incredible experience. Totally a comfort read. It just makes me very happy.
Aaron?
I'll mimic that. It's 4.5. Yeah. For a book to be able to simultaneously make me want to leave it as it is and continue that's a special mixture inside of there. So yeah, 4.5 for me.
Okay. I gave it a 5.
Wow.
It's totally my kind of book. I love robot, AI, Android books, space books. This is totally my jam. And I enjoyed it every single time I've read it. The first time I went through all the audiobooks was literally back to back, to the point where I don't always remember what happens in which book because I didn't take that break. So I am excited to reread all of them. I'm going to go through all of them after this too. So obviously, I definitely recommend this book.
This is a little bit off the main topic, but what's your favorite in the series?
I don't know because it's all one.
Yeah.
It's all one story to me. I will say I definitely enjoy the books that have, I'm blanking on its name, The Ship.
I have to say, I know exactly what you're talking about. It's everybody's favorite. Yeah.
What did I say?
Yeah.
What did I say?
Jason, you'll know.
Well,
You'll
fucking
know.
spoilers.
Spoiler alert. Well, I mean, you kind of got a little bit, that, because at the end, Murderbot talks about ships. To get onto the ship, he bribed the ship with, hey, look at all these
he bribed the
shows.
ship to let it on and hitch a ride.
But that could have been a throwaway scene. I don't know.
Yeah, it was. It was a throwaway scene. Nothing ever happens.
It's basically, but it's adding to the world with just that ending scene, showing that there are other artificial intelligences out there that it can communicate with. Which I love, obviously. Like, that's my thing.
Yeah, I think my top are 5, then 2, then 1. And then I think 4, 3, 6. No, 7, 6. I don't know. But 5, 2, 1 is the top 3.
They start to blur into definitely like a longer book for me after 2. Like, that's kind of why I think I hold 2 and 1 in the highest. But I haven't read 5 yet, so we'll see how that goes.
5 was not initially my favorite until a reread. 2 was my favorite, and then I reread the series, and I was like, no, it's 5.
Well, I'm not looking for a reread to make it a 5. You better impress me on the first date. Or
I mean, it was already highly rated. It just overtook 2 as my favorite.
Okay.
You don't get a second chance to make a first impression.
You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying?
God forbid I be able to change my mind. Added context not allowed.
No, you said it, not us.
Well, let's segue into our last segment here. Shit we're reading next. I guess my question is, are any of us reading book 2 next?
No.
You gotta stay fresh for season 1 of the show. So
Yeah.
I
Good
can't
point.
like add in book 2 in
Good
there.
point.
I actually didn't read book 1 before this episode. I'm not gonna read it for another couple
Wow,
of weeks.
Emma.
Fake
Wow.
fan.
Wow.
Because I'm waiting until the show. I'm gonna read it right before the show. I was like, I read it 4 times. I've got this.
Fake fan.
Okay.
Literally asked her, I was like, oh, you're going to read? She's like, I know. I said, what are we going to talk about on the show? She's like, just going to go on there and talk about Murderbot.
Yeah.
Like, you're not going to read to
Basically.
prep?
It's all up here.
Oh, okay. Was this question, Laura, about just specifically, are we going to read Murderbot next or anything next?
No, if you're reading anything else next.
So I've got a couple of choices. Like, I have actually a lot of choices that I want to read. The one that's kind of rising to the surface that I'm scared to invest in because I have to buy it. It's not in the library, which go to your libraries, everybody. If you, that is very important. It's a book called Bacano, and it was a series of light novels that was turned into an anime. And I watched the anime years ago, almost 10 years ago. And it's my favorite anime of all time. Like, I absolutely love that anime. And fast forward to now, they're translating the Japanese light novels into English. And this is where it came from. like this is the source material for the anime, and I want to read the books, but I'm afraid that it may not live up to my love of the anime. And like,
Oh,
if
yeah.
I get into this book, and so far I've kind of looked at other people's reviews for the book, and people have been saying like, "Oh no, yeah, this is they just did a 1-for-1." So it's all but the anime has a very Pulp Fiction vibe to it. The way that they weave different stories and different perspectives together that you don't even think kind of even match. And I don't know if the book is going to do the same thing. So I'm worried.
Yeah.
And like I said, I have to buy it. I'm going to buy it. I'm just worried that it's not going to live up to my expectations, my very high expectations of this book.
It's risky.
It is. It's very, very risky. Very, very risky.
But I hope it turns out well for you.
Fingers crossed.
You sound like he's going into space. Like,
I mean,
like I hope you return safely.
Me and Katy Perry going right back up there.
Thank you for.
Oh my God.
We're gonna be astronauts.
Oh, quote unquote.
Well, I mentioned I'm going to continue on with the series, so I'm going to blow through that through May. But afterwards, the next book I'm going to read to really kind of compare the two is called Service Model by Adrian Tchaikovsky.
Yes.
Very similar premise. I'll read the synopsis. Let me know if this sounds at all familiar. Humanity is a dying breed, utterly reliant on artificial labor and service. When a domestic robot gets a nasty little idea downloaded into their core programming, they murder their owner. The robot then discovers they can also do something else they never did before: run away. After fleeing the household, they enter a wider world they never knew existed, where the age-old hierarchy of humans at the top is disintegrating, and a robot ecosystem devoted to human well-being is finding a new purpose.
When he said the robot then discovers they can do something, I was like, love. That's what I was like, okay.
Run.
That's where this goes, turn it to a romance.
I mean, a lot of them do go that way.
So
Interesting.
yeah.
Well, I'm excited to hear what you think about it because it is on my TBR.
Yeah.
So.
This all falls under my robot section of.
Is this your robot month?
It's my robot month. Yeah.
Okay. Let me know if there's any that you think I should read.
Will do. Absolutely.
Emma, did you say what you're reading next?
I guess my earlier is just that Angie Kills a King, I think, is going to be up next.
Oh yeah, that's right.
I have a couple that are kind of on my like priority to get to next. Angie Kills a King by Evan Lakem, The Night and the Moth by Rachel Gillig. Both of those I want to get to because they're coming out in May, and I am notoriously bad about reading arcs before they come out, so I should probably do that. And then Catabasis by R.F. Kuang is also very high on my like.
Mm-hmm.
That I know I have to set aside, like I have to be in the right headspace, and both by the right headspace, like able to focus. Like I can't be picking up Catabasis if I'm like, whatever. So like kind of the ones that I'm prioritizing right now, I really want to like sit down and dedicate a bunch of time to. But I have a really good feeling that Angie Kills a King is gonna be kind of maybe the thing that resets me. I'm very excited for that.
Cool.
Nice.
I am also planning to read the next Murderbot book in preparation for the Sci-Fi Book Club meeting.
Yes.
For a seat at the table. The way that I have it planned out, I will probably be reading it after the show starts. So I'll at least have the first novel fresh in my mind for the release of the show. But I'm very much a mood reader, so I'm not really sure what I will be reading after that yet.
Couldn't be me.
Okay. Thank you to all of our listeners for hanging out with us for this probably long episode.
It's a season opener. You got to go long.
Go big
Sure,
or go home,
yeah. That makes sense. If any of our listeners would like to share your thoughts on All Systems Red or any of the Murderbot books or even this show once it's out, you can find us on social media at Shit We've Read. We're also on Discord. You can find the link in our show notes on our website. Thank you, Aaron and Emma, for joining us for this season 5 premiere.
Thanks for having us.
This was a lot of fun. Would you like to share any socials? Where can people find you?
You can find me everywhere at Emma Skies. Emma Skies on TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, Blue Sky, Threads. I keep the same name everywhere, so it's very easy. You can find me on Bindery at Skies Press. That is my publishing imprint. And you can pre-order a copy of To Bargain with Mortals by R.A. Basu, which comes out October 28th.
Yeah.
If you are interested in political fantasy, elemental magic, colonialism, sort of a mirroring of historical time periods without being historical fiction necessarily. Very, very excited for this book to come out and be out in the world. Again, it comes out October 28th. You guys can pre-order it now. It would be really great if you wanted to pre-order it.
We're so excited for you. I'm excited to read it. This is so cool.
Good. It's so good. I love it so much. So I'm really excited.
Aaron, do you have any socials or anything you want to share?
You can send all your hate mail for me towards all those previous social medias. Any disagreements on books that you have with me, just send them, and they'll filter through there. Beyond that, you can't find me anywhere. I'll find you.
Okay. All right. That works.
And that is a promise and a threat.
Yes, both.
And also just a reminder for our listeners, you both are going to have a watch series on your podcast, Emma, Reader Tangents.
Reader Tangents. You can find Reader Tangents wherever you listen to podcasts. There are just a few episodes up that are public now. There are a few more that are subscriber only for my Bindery. And that's also where we will be hosting our Murderbot sort of episode by episode breakdown.
Sweet. I'm excited to listen. And our next episode is going to be After Dark. It's Emma's pick.
Yes, it is.
Emma's been waiting a little while for us to read this book.
Would I tell
like
you,
no other.
I have been holding on to this book for this episode for like 9 months. And every time Jason and Laura can both attest to this. Every time we had an episode, I was like, so is it my turn next? It's my turn next, right? And they were like,
yeah.
No.
You
every
asked
time.
So many times.
So I was like, when is it my turn? I want to read this book. The book that I have literally just discovered. The main character's name is Emma. So that's great. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Maybe could have checked on that before I agreed to it. But now we're committed. I'm ready. It's called I haven't even said what the book is. It's called A Hunger Like No Other by Cressley Cole. So that'll be my pick.
And that is book 1 of the Immortals After Dark series.
Yes.
So
very appropriate.
You have a good pick here.
Yeah.
So if anybody's interested in reading that book, tuning into our next episode, it's a fierce werewolf and a bewitching vampire become unlikely soulmates whose passion will test the boundaries of life and death.
It is the
unique.
the OG vampire ex-werewolf romance. So looking forward to this.
We're going to have a lot to say about this one, I already know.
I genuinely think it's going to be good. I'm really excited.
All right. Well, thank you again.
I didn't like the silence after that.
Thank you for joining us. We're really happy that you were able to come on this show and talk about this book with us. It's been a bit that we've seen Aaron too, so this was nice.
Yep, glad to have him again.
Yeah. All right. Well, we will see everybody for our next episode. Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Shit We've Read is hosted by Laura Benson and Jason Rico, with music by Joshua Chilton and editing by Jason Rico.
To join the discussion on this and all other books we've read, find us at Shit We've Read on Instagram and TikTok.
For more information about us or to request transcripts, please visit shitwe'veread.com.
Thanks so much for listening.